Hey, what's going on, guys? We have Spider-Man, the brand new Sideshow premium format, the exclusive edition in hand right now. We're really excited to bust this guy open and see the amazing Spider-Man in all of his glory. So stick around. Hope you give us a like and a comment. We'd love to hear from you. And stick around for our unboxing and review of the amazing Spider-Man. Thanks again, guys, for sticking around and watching our video on the Sideshow Spider-Man Premium Format Exclusive, the brand new one. We're really excited to be one of the first to have this in hand and also unboxed for your viewing pleasure. So if you like what you're seeing, please give us a like, give us a comment. We love to respond to any comments that come our way. So we appreciate that. If you want to go the extra mile, give us that subscribe and we'd really appreciate it. Anyways, without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into this. So we already have it unboxed from the art box. We have cut open the styrofoam casing, and we did kind of like prep a little bit of these pieces just because there were some like styrofoam components that were kind of like keeping it really nice and secure. So we wanted to not waste a lot of your time with you know, taking that parts off. So we kind of like basically did a really quick prep. But as you can see, we have the base right here. We have Spider-Man here. I can already see some portraits right here and right here. Again, this is the exclusive. So we do have the McFarlane exclusive head. That will be one of those two. We have the Tentacles, Oscorp screen over here. So we got a lot of different components here, and Latrice is going to be so kind and assemble this for us. So of course, we're going to start with my favorite piece, which is the base. And we have, of course, some Dr. Octopus tentacles wrapping around a lot of different, I don't know, it looks like machinery or some sort of, even maybe a light of some sort.
Yeah.
Not quite sure. Some sort of scientific equipment, right?
Oscorp Laboratories little label on the side here that I just saw.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
There's
Yep,
a bunch
you're
of
right.
little like cables.
Yeah. So we'll kind of get into all of this. So I see a camera too. Yeah. We'll get into all of that during the review portion, but as of right now, this is what the base is, and I can already see some keys right here. Okay, so the next piece that you want to pull out is one of these long tentacles located right here. So Latrice is pulling that one out, and that's going to go into the middle front and center right there. Perfect. So we have our first tentacle kind of like breaking through this Oscorp machinery right there. So Latrice is going to go ahead next and go to Spider-Man himself. You will see that there is one section that is noted install last. So you'll want to make sure and do that. And we have Spider-Man, the amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Wow. Dang. The sculpt on that looks epic. The shadowing too. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get ahead of myself and get too much into the review. Okay, so we want to make sure that the foot key and the metal rod go in right there where Latrice is placing it, so it's above that circular Oscorp piece. All right.
Can I get this in there? I don't know.
All right, if you need a hand, let me know and I can pause.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to do it.
Okay.
That way
we'll be back.
I got it.
You got it? Oh, nice. All right, good job. Okay, so we have Spider-Man in place, and then we can see his front foot right here on the top of those tentacles. So again, it's important to make sure we get this piece in first because it is a little bit of a contact piece there. So then we have Spider-Man's foot in place. Looks good. Awesome. All right. So then what do we have next? We have
got the Oscorp screen.
We have another tentacle going through Oscorp like computer screen. Wow, that looks really cool. Whoa, the blues and stuff on that. Oh, that looks really great.
And I believe this was in the back.
All right. Nice. Okay. Perfect. Man, so we have the completion. There's a couple other keys that I can see, but for the most part, we're seeing the completion of all the tentacles. We saw one right here. All right. And then next, Latrice has the tentacle that has webbing on it. And so what you want to do first is put it into the key first. Is that right? No, that can't be right. It's this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, that's
so you
not
want
right.
to put it into the key first. Perfect.
That magneted in pretty well.
Nice. Looks nice and flush. And then you want to attach the webbing and kind of like put it in because it is a little
very small, like, connection here. It is a little flexible for you to move it.
Awesome.
And then it just goes right into the hand there.
All right, nicely done, Latrice. This is coming along so nice. Oh man, I'm really loving this. Okay, try not to review.
This is one of the claws.
Yes. So I think at this point we have all the tentacles in place. What we're going to see though are the ends of Dr. Octopus's tentacles, like we can see right here, which it looks like Spider-Man already shut that one down with some webbing. But they're like the claws that he uses to grab, to climb, also to fire things as well. So we will see right here, Latrice has one of those claws. Awesome. And there is a button underneath to light it up, but is it not lighting up? All right. Maybe there's a battery thing that we have to do. I'm not quite sure. We could figure that out later though too. Try the other one. Awesome. So are these needing to be in a specific one?
And this one's not lighting up either.
Yeah, I wonder if there's...
Maybe you have to put a battery in it.
Yeah, a battery, or even like sometimes there's a tab that you have to like remove, you know, to start the battery that's in there. So it's probably something like that, which we can figure out a little bit later when we're doing the review portion. But how do you put these in, Latrice? I think they're like a sideways screw. Not quite sure. Okay, let's take a quick break and we will be right back to get these claws put on. All right, so we got the claws unpacked. We removed the plastic barrier off of the battery so that they're able to turn on. So that'll be one step you have to do. And there is a little clicker basically at the base underneath of the claw. And so it is right there.
So turns your light on and off. It's also where the batteries live.
Yep, and there's already some like light shadowing and stuff all over the claws, so even without them on, it does look illuminated, which is really cool. Yeah, and then there's some really cool webbing on this one, so we have a lot of motion happening on this base, and I'm not going to get super into that because we're not in the review section, but yeah, again, a lot of little components to kind of put together. And yeah, then you have this epic battle between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. So next we're gonna put on his hands. Awesome. Perfect. So we have him in his classic web shooter ready kind of stance there. The other hand, he is pulling on one of the claws with his fist enclosed around the webbing. So, yeah.
And
all right.
This is the install last piece.
Then we have our install last piece.
Goes on the back here, which you probably can't see it. There you go. Goes right there.
Awesome. All right. So we have this fully assembled, right?
Other than the heads.
Other than the heads. All right. So let's go with the collector's edition head first. Not that one. Yeah, that's the McFarlane head. That's the exclusive. Perfect. So here is the collector's edition of Spider-Man, the brand new premium format exclusive. And so he looks like he's taking aim. There's a little bit of like a slight wink, if you will, where he's making sure to get that like perfect shot in there. Really nicely done. Little bit of a seam line, I will say that. But, you know, with a swap out head, it's a little hard. But really, if you're trying to, like, you know, just focus on the statue, you really do kind of gloss over it. But it is there. But nonetheless, the portrait is really nicely done. Suit is looking really good as well. So that is the collector's edition of Spider-Man premium format. Let's go ahead and swap the portrait out for the Todd McFarlane larger eyes Spidey.
Got my finger on that one.
Oh, nice.
This seems a little more noticeable on this half here.
On this half?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. It is a little bit more noticeable on this one on the back end. Again, like, it doesn't bother me too much though, because that's not the angle. Of course, I would be displaying them on, and you know, but yeah, you're right. It is a little less flush right here. Good call out, Latrice. But still looks really
awesome.
good. All right. So that is how you assemble your Spider-Man premium format exclusive edition from Sideshow. We'll be right back with a review. And we're back, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for the unboxing portion of this video. Now we're going to get into the review, strictly just talking about the sculpt, the paint app, the design, concept, overall execution, all of those kind of little things. Any of our nitpicks as well. Right off the bat, I gotta say this is, like, first impressions wise, a very awesome, epic Spider-Man statue. A lot to love here. A lot of Spider-Man character, a lot of action, a lot of, as Latrice, I think, coined the term right now, dynamical. Kind of action.
Dynamical statue.
It's a very dynamical statue. You heard it here, guys. It's dynamical. No, but really, it is, and there's a lot going on here. I really, really love the overall just like motion of this. And when I think about, like, you know, Marvel heroes, like Spider-Man absolutely is like such an in motion character all the time. He's always flying all over the place, always swinging. You know, very rarely is he caught like standing still. So I think, like, for any character to have a ton of motion kind of conveyed, this is one that should have it. And I think they executed that part really, really well. So let's kind of go into the base. That's one of my favorite things to start with, of course. Gosh, this is like one of, I think, 2 statues in my collection that have any kind of electronic light up features. So that's something that's really kind of cool. I do love the way that the tentacle claws look. It does add a lot of realism to this scene. We, of course, have an Oscorp computer screen. Looks really well done. The plasma screen or flat screen looks real, looks really broken. You know, it just looks really cool. I love all the little Oscorp logos that you can find. Latrice found this one that looks like it's kind of being peeled off a little bit from whatever this piece is. But it's all, you know, bent and looks like it's seen some distress on whatever it was originally plastered on. So yeah, really cool base. Dr. Octopus is like such a classic Spider-Man villain as well. One of the greatest kind of in his really epic and very diverse rogues gallery. But he is one of the few that have actually like beat Spider-Man. There was a part in the comics where he actually killed him, and then he body swapped with him and kind of took over his life and became what was known as the Superior Spider-Man. So Dr. Octopus, I mean, is like up there as far as like some of those villains that continually come back and end up combating with Spider-Man here. So really, I mean, I think it's a really appropriate base, very classic. I love the webbed camera. Yeah, that's a very classic Spider-Man move. He especially like for those of us that grew up on the Spider-Man cartoon in the 90s, right around the time of the X-Men and Batman the animated series and stuff like that. He always did that. He was working for the Daily Bugle, and so in order to get some pictures of Spider-Man, what he would do is set up some cameras and web them to the wall or the corners and take some killer shots while he was fighting some enemies. So very classic kind of Spider-Man move there. But of course, it looks like almost like a python, like the tentacles are basically wrapping around whatever this Oscorp piece is. And I'm assuming it's some sort of scientific lab equipment. You can see the ends of it here. There's some like circuits and stuff busting out. A lot of like open little wires and bits like all over the place. So a lot of little details to find. But I think there is so much motion and action and story and kind of like combativeness like already portrayed right here just in the base alone. So really nicely done. Excited about the light up features. So anything you want to throw in there, Latrice?
About the base, not really.
It's dynamical.
All the wire endings on these cables over here look really detailed.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they look like real copper. That's really cool. I didn't even notice those. Yeah, I like the webbing on the back of
this one kind of just busted open.
Yeah, exactly. Like
he had it
like wrapped up like this one here, and of course like that one back there. But it like opened up once again. So yeah, again, tons of like little like motion, like story and motion kind of thing. Very cool. All right, let's move on up to Spider-Man. So we have a really classic Spider-Man costume, with the classic logo, everything that any Spider-Man fan should love, and then the classic back as well. So very classic. But what I think is very different between this Spider-Man and some of the other premium formats from the past, because Sideshow's done quite a few. I mean, Spider-Man's a very popular character. But a lot of the other ones are completely 100% smooth and all the way through. And what I do love about this one is you can see the seam lines and you can see the wrinkling, the bunching in different areas. And then when you actually get really close, you actually have like texture. I'm trying to make sure this will focus for us. Yeah, there you go. So you can see like it's highly textured all the way through. So you really have this realistic looking, almost like fabric looking costume, for the Spider-Man. And I think that's a really great change up from the other statues.
Flat.
Yeah. And, there's also a lot of shadowing that was done if we're talking about the Paint app right now. A lot of shadowing to accent the muscles, to accent, where the basic lighting would fall around the boots and other parts of his body form. So really well done as far as sculpt, really well done. I mean, because like that's all in there. But then really well done as far as Paint app as well too. It's a little bit of a darker red and darker blue. It's not that very like, 60s, 70s, like Steve Ditko, like, very vibrant, like, red and blue. It's a little darker, but I like it. I think it works really well, especially if like you know, I don't know, with the glowing claws, I imagine that this is like some sort of after hours Oscorp science lab fight. So they're probably in a darker setting. It just feels kind of right for what's happening in the statue for the Spider-Man to be a little darker. So I don't know, it looks really good. I did really like the detailing underneath the shoes as well. So you can see the webbing. It's like a web print almost on his tread.
Yeah.
So really cool. Nice little details to find all over the place. All right, anything about the Spider-Man body at all, Latrice? You want to comment on?
If I had to kind of nitpick something that
Yeah.
I just noticed right now is, okay, so this arm is obviously, you have to attach it.
Yes.
So there's a bit of a seam kind of here.
Mm-hmm.
But then this arm has a similar seam. So I don't know if that's supposed to be part of the costume where he's wearing like gloves.
Yeah, you know what?
But-
yeah, I'd have to like go back and kind of brush up, but I think his suit.
That's how it is.
Yeah, maybe it is a little like detachable there, but you're right. It is like definitely accented that there's like a.
It seems like he must be wearing gloves.
Yeah, and almost like
Like
here
the
as well,
boots, yeah.
like boots.
So maybe that's what it is.
And then the almost like that belt, but no, you know what? I think it's all one piece. But I think maybe it's like the style to make it look like it is, because it does seem like all the way around. You're right. Like even on the chest area as well, it's like very highly raised.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah. So maybe that's just like the design they went with. But yeah, it is very accented, I guess, where all the like red pieces are on the seams. So. Anything else?
Nope. I think it looks great. All the shading is really cool. The muscles are really defined.
Yeah, very much. I mean, it looks really nicely done. Yeah, what do you think about the collector portrait?
I like it. I'm trying to remember. I don't really recognize the big eyes of the other portrait. I'm more of like the smaller eyes.
More classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cool. I like the kind of like squinty eye because you know he's aiming at something.
Absolutely. I do too. I think it looks really nice. And
Yeah.
it adds some sort of like motion again, a little
bit of
bit.
character to it.
Yeah, because I feel like you're catching him right before he's about to like, you know, shoot his webbing at something. And if you angle it just right, like it looks like he's shooting right at you. And it's pretty cool. You know, like you definitely get like some motion and some like action conveyed with that portrait versus the other one, like, you know, it could kind of go either way. You know, he could have just shot his webbing or, you know, is like getting ready to like whatever. This looks like he's like right about to do it. So pull the trigger. All right, let's go ahead and flip this portrait and get the collector in there. They're really strong magnets as well, which is nice. I mean, I always hate whenever I find a magnet that's like not very strong. So I do appreciate that. Like Latrice said, this one, like there is like, and you can see it right there, a bigger like seam line. It feels like on this one, more noticeable, especially in that back area. But when you look at it from this angle, like not so much. So it's about on the same level as the collector portrait. So that's my only nitpick I would say on this portrait. But I love the execution of the McFarlane eyes. I think it looks spot on, and it fits for this color. It makes me appreciate this color palette that they chose for the Spider-Man as well, because it is a little bit of a darker Spider-Man. You know, darker blues, darker reds, like we said. And so I think it looks really good with this McFarlane statue or portrait. I mean, if it was a very bright costume color, I think it would look a little weird with this one. So yeah, I think this looks really good. I think this might be how I primarily display him. Of course, I'll probably swap them out now and again, but I think the exclusive head is where I'm going to go. I really like it. What are your thoughts on the Todd McFarlane portrait?
I think it's. Ooh, sorry. I think it's cool. Other than the seam, I think it looks really cool. It's different. I mean, I think it's one of those portraits where it kind of just makes it look different.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a big enough of a difference to make it not look like a different statue, but
kind of, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, this reminds me of, like, that 80s, 90s kind of, like, Spider-Man versus, like, the other one reminds me of, it could be either modern or, like, parts of it kind of remind me of the modern, like, MCU, like, even, like, some of the, like, crease lines and stuff. It reminds me a little bit of the modern MCU, like, especially Homecoming suit, or, like, in Civil War as well. It was that very, like, classic Spider-Man suit. You know, then the portrait could kind of go either way. It can kind of go retro, like Steve Ditko throwback, or the modern one, because he has the smaller eyes right now too. So, you know, it looks like it could go either way. But this one is very much like that Todd McFarlane like portrait, and so very much communicating that. But yeah, I really like it. I think it came out really nice. I'm very happy with it. All right. Well, any last minute thoughts, Latrice?
Nope.
Yeah, it gets an A+ for me. I really like it. I'm very happy with this. Yeah, it's very cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching our unboxing and review videos here at INL Danger Room Reviews. We do have Jean Grey supposedly coming next week. Yeah, stick around. Make sure, and like I said, if you're interested in collecting and what we nerd out about here, make sure and give us that subscribe, because we have more on the way. Very excited about that. So thank you much for sticking around, and hope to have you join us again soon.
Thanks.